First we declare an array called gProducts. This will have an entry for each product we have. Then we make a helper function to populate the array. The system minimum needs to know about each product, is its name, its price and a unique identifier. The function makes a 3-element array of these arguments and adds it to the products array. The products array will thus consist of an array for each product. After that, we call that function a few times to populate the products array. So now we know about the products, we'll need some way of tracking which products the user has in their basket. For this, we use cookies, so that the basket can persist across pages. I assume you're familiar with using cookies in JavaScript, so I just outline the functions we'll be using. Save cookie, read cookie, and delete cookie. The getQuantity function checks the cookie, if it already exists, else it returns 0. The setQuantity makes sure we have a positive quantity. Then, either sets the new value, or deletes the cookie. When setting the quantity to 0, we don't need a cookie, since we interpret no cookie. Since we want the basket to display it on the page somewhere, we create it using a function, which we pass the name of a parent node, to create it inside. When the page loads, buildBasket is called with the ID of the node. How do we create a basket? We're going to use a table, since that applies itself quite well to the rows for our basket. To create a table in JavaScript we use the DOM, to create a table node. Put a tBody node inside it, then several tr nodes inside, and several td and th nodes inside those, to create one node and put it in another. When we test this through a browser it works fine. But we are not quite there yet, we could do with showing the actual products. For a start, we can create a row for each product, regardless of the current quantity. It loops through each element in gProducts, storing the current element in a variable called product. We then extract the GID, name, and price for each product. With these in hand, we can create the row and cells for the product. The first cell just contains the name. The second contains the product price. We call a function to format the price here, but we get to that later. The third cell contains an input box, which will contain the quantity of each item. The fourth cell has a link to remove the item from the basket. The fifth will contain the total for that row or the price multiplied by the quantity. We need some way of actually showing the correct values and rows, depending on the contents of the user's basket. We write another function for this, the update basket. We put this in a separate function so that we can build the basket once, and then update it several times without refreshing the page. We loop through each of the products and get the quantity, and calculate the total. Then we get hold the quantity of input box and the total row and update the values. If the quantity for a row is 0, then we set its display style to none to hide it, else, we set it blank, and put in its default display mode or visible. You might notice a call to replace contents. That's another helper function we use to update the first child of a node. It checks to see if there's already a child node. If there is, then we replace it, else we append to the parent. Because JavaScript doesn't have a printf style function, formatting numbers can be a real pain. The following function will format a floating point number into a price. Finally, you can now put this script on your web for transactions.